よく気づいた。最後の月が天正とは、私の刃を受け入れることでしか手にすることはできん。受け入れれば、貫かれることに痛みだ。
But I want to talk about this clip. This clip is Ichigo with Zangetsu before he receives the power of the final Getsuga Tensho. Right? See, Ichigo tried to view himself as masculine and dominant, right? Or he was in a submissive point. He was just trying to get that power. But he was trying to get that power of the final Getsuga Tensho, right? He was trying to get that power through beating Zangetsu. Fight ensued, you know what I mean? So when he was internally dealing with that masculine dominant energy, the Zangetsu, he was like, well, damn, how do I beat this guy? So he's fighting him. But that's pure dominant masculine energy. He's not aligned like that, right? But then he finally had an epiphany. And then this epiphany he had, the epiphany was he gave in as Zangetsu was charging him. As Zangetsu was about to run him through with his blade, he gave up and he allowed it to happen. See, in Bleach, one thing you may notice is this motif that goes on. Not every stab from a blade is going to hurt. You have to look at the first episode of Ichigo with Rukia. And in that episode, he was in a place of panic. He felt like his life was on the line. His family was on the line. And he knew that he needed to do whatever he had to do to save it. He was in a place of primal panic, right? But in that place, right? In that place, he decided to calm down and say, what do I have to do to get where I'm trying to get to, right? And Rukia told him, you know, if I stab you through with this blade, you'll receive my power of the Soul Reaper. And it unlocked his own power. He received it. He took the blade into himself. And he wasn't cut. He wasn't hurt. Now, he saw how this blade was something that was able to hurt a hollow. So conventional wisdom, logic, social programming would tell him, it's not logical for me to get cut with this sword. But he trusted her, he respected her, and he desired her power so that he could protect those that he loved. So he took that blade into himself, and then he received the power of the Soul Reaper, became a Shinigami. This is an example of what submission is, right? You can't be masculine and submissive. That's just cooperative. You're not going to receive the blade. You're going to cooperate. You're going to go along with it. You're going to try to help, but you're going to be afraid because the monster is going to be too big for you to beat. You're not strong enough to beat it on your own. You're going to deal with anxiety. You're going to deal with fear. You're going to deal with all these different things that's going to make you feel like, well, damn, they're fighting this monster, but the blade that they're using to fight that monster, that hurts the monster. So if they cut me with it, it's going to hurt me. And it takes a certain level of respect. It takes vulnerability. It takes yielding, giving up control. And you receive that blade into yourself. Now, one thing that often happens when it comes to understanding content or understanding art is that oftentimes a blade is a representation of a penis, right? That's why when you see certain characters, main characters, oftentimes they may have a really big sword, right? Like Guts. You know, that thing was too big, too rough, right, to be called a sword. It was more like a hunk of metal. That thing was supposed to represent his masculine energy, his dominant energy, who he was as a man. But when we're looking at Bleach, right, and he's fighting Zangetsu, when he gives up and receives the sword into himself, Zangetsu was almost surprised. Zangetsu looked at him and said, "You've realized it. The only way to receive the power of the final Getsuga is to accept my blade. If you accept my blade, then there can be no pain when I run you through." See, a lot of issues women deal with these days in dating and relationships comes from the fact that they're heavily socially programmed and socially conditioned to view the dominance and masculinity and sexuality of a man as something that's taking something away from them, something that's causing them to bend from who they are as a person, something that's causing them to put their dreams, their hopes, their desires to the side. something that's causing them to go through pain, to go through anxiety, to go through hurt. When really the truth is this: if you receive that cut, right? If you receive that dick, if you receive those things from a place of submission, from giving up control, then there's not going to be any pain. There's not going to be any pain. And if there is any pain, it's going to mix with the pleasure and intensify the pleasure. And once you give yourself over to that logic, once you give yourself over to that man, now you're in a position where if he has leadership, right? And if he has power within himself as a man, true dominant masculine energy, then now you're going to have the power to fight the demons that you're trying to fight. Now you're going to have the power to fight certain things that you're encountering, right? But as long as you want to fight it on your own, you don't have the power to do it. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to run away. You're going to have to run away from whatever you feel like is frightening you, because you don't have the power to actually fight it. And you're just going to be alone, or you're going to have to take a step back and fight more smaller level opponents. You get what I'm saying? But when the big battles come, when you reach a fork in the road, you're never going to be able to handle that. See, as a woman, you're not worthy of a man's dominant masculine energy unless you're in a place to receive it. And it's not saying that, oh, you're not good enough. That's how you hear it. That's how you hear it, is you're not good enough. Or how you hear it is, well, the man don't really want you. No. A man who's masculine and dominant understands that he's going to have to water himself down in a way that's going to cause you to not be attracted to him. If he gives you all that time, attention, social validation, emotional validation, energy, right? Financial compensation. If he does all of these things, when you don't receive his blade, you're going to lose attraction. You're going to lose respect. You're not going to truly appreciate those things. And whatever you do for him outside of that is going to feel like something that's taken away from you and draining your social battery. Sex is going to feel like something that's draining you and taking your social battery. Cooperation is going to feel like something that's draining you and taking your social battery. And then you're going to want your interactions with him to be on a basis of equals, as friends. You're not going to respect his wisdom and his guidance as something that is above the knowledge that you have. So you're going to be constantly fighting within yourself. And if love is there, you're just going to be in a really tough, bad position, right? A really tough, bad position. But you have to fall on the sword. And if you never fall on the sword, you're never going to reach that place. And sometimes there just may not be a man you're willing to fall on that sword for. That's cool. But understand, you're either going to have to fall on that sword, you're going to have to get strong enough on your own to have somebody who's willing to fall on your sword. Right? And if you're not truly masculine and dominant yourself as a woman, if you don't truly have the ability to be attracted to weakness, if you don't truly have the ability to lead, right? If you're not willing to peg a man, right? You want to take it to another level, to have your own sword to where you're running somebody through, then you're going to be in a position to where you're not going to be any better than a beta male. You're not going to be a main character. And you're not going to respect your man. It's just like the king and queen system. You know? A man who's a king, he can find a woman to make her a queen. A woman who's already a queen, if she finds a man, it's just the queen's husband. That's all he is. He doesn't become the king because he's with a woman who's a queen already. Nah. But if he's a king already, why would he choose to be someone who makes it difficult for him? Why? That doesn't make sense. It's not logical. It's not masculine. So you have to think about it from different perspectives. So when you receive the blade into yourself, which is the good dick and the guidance, right? The good dick and the correction, the instruction. When you yield yourself to that, that's when you get to the place where you're like, okay, cool. When you really give in, not just pretend, do the acts on the surface. And you can't separate it, the internal from the external. You can't separate it. But when you receive that, it's just like the Bible, what it says about metanoia, right? Repent. Some people say repent means to change your actions. That's a real surface level idea of what that means. Repent means metanoia, which means you have a change of mind. That change of mind can yield to a change in actions. But sometimes when you have a change of mind, you realize that the things you thought were wrong actions weren't even wrong. But if you don't have a change of mind, you don't have a change of heart, then nothing you see or learn is going to have an effect on you. You'll be better off to do things your own way. Because when you're experiencing that power, when you're experiencing those different things, putting yourself in opposition to it is just going to cause it to hurt you. That's all it's going to do. That's all it's going to do. So if you understand this clip, you understand what submission really is. You understand what it really is. A vital thing to understand when looking at the story of Mugetsu is that old man Zangetsu represents the guidance. He represents the logical mindset, the structure, what things are supposed to look like, right? And he only comes in when necessary when it comes to Ichigo being in a bad spot. But one thing that you'll notice is that anytime Zangetsu comes in, what he's really doing is giving Ichigo power from White. Now, what White represents is the primal passion, the primal desire, right? The dark side, that toxic shit, right? So what White represents is that good dick, right? I gotta put it as plain as I can. White represents that good, toxic, nasty dick, that dominant energy, right? And Zangetsu represents masculinity, structure. But this structure seeks to keep Ichigo safe. So at times it holds him back, because it seeks to keep Ichigo safe. But Ichigo has to decide. When he decides that he really wants to do that, he really wants to go through that fight, he really wants to fight those demons, that's when the guidance will come in, right? The guidance will come in and activate Blue Vein and protect Ichigo, or give White access to Ichigo at moments where things are getting to a certain point. But what happens in the fight of Mugetsu is that the good dick and the guidance, they mix together. One thing to understand about women a lot of the time is that many women have a gentleman gigolo complex, right? And what that gentleman gigolo complex does is it makes the fuck boy or the bad boy or the dude with the good dick, that's White right there. That's the primal instincts. That's that aggression. That's that primal desire. That lust, that aggression. All that is in White, right? The peaks of it. And Ichigo can't become a full person until he integrates with those things. So Ichigo will represent the heart. But when we're looking at this, Ichigo is seeing White and Zangetsu as separate from himself. And because he sees White and Zangetsu as separate from himself, he's fighting against Zangetsu within that world, trying to win the power of Mugetsu, right? So that he could defeat his enemy. And in doing that, he's trying to fight, but he's not winning. He can't overpower it. Why? Because he's fighting his own power. This is deep. You got to listen. You got to understand what I'm saying. So what's going on here is this. This can often represent when a woman is experiencing a man who has both good dick and guidance. Typically, if it's just one or the other, then she'll just save that for the moments where she feels like she needs it. So if she's like real down bad, she's like, all right, cool, I need some advice. All right, cool, that's just the guidance. All right, but he'll also be a fatherly figure. Not daddy, but fatherly figure. But when she feels like she wants to get to a place where she's learning things for herself and doing things on her own, which comes with life. That comes with life. But once she gets to that place where she feels like his guidance isn't something that benefits her, then she's going to choose white. Right? Either choose white or step away. So with him, when she doesn't feel like she needs the guidance, she just wants to do her own thing. Instead of having a path set with expectations set. You notice Ichigo only goes to see Zangetsu when it's a dire situation. Understand what I'm saying? So when we're looking at this, that's Zangetsu. But what is white? Now we know, if you were up to date with the 1,000-Year Blood War arc, then, you know, if you're not, this is going to be a spoiler, but white is a mix of the hollow powers of white made from a Shinigami. That's why Ichigo had an Asauchi, right? After he received the blade from Rukia, he didn't, like, after Rukia got her powers back, Ichigo still had an Asauchi, right? The reason why is because Ichigo already had that attached to his soul. He already had the Quincy powers, right? And the hollow, well, he already had the Soul Reaper powers that were mixed with a hollow, right? From the experiments that Aizen did. And then those experiments extended to his mother. So that was already something that was a part of him. Then Zangetsu, you know, Zangetsu, basically representation of his Quincy powers, because it's a young Yuabak. So that would be just like a representation of the beliefs of your forefathers. Sometimes, you know, I'm mixing up where I'm bringing this perspective from with these different things as I tell it, because it's off the cuff. But we just look at it like that from that point in time. But when Ichigo really gets to the point where he feels like he needs that, where he needs that power because there's something he needs to do with that power, that's when Ichigo gets to the place where he finally submits and he realizes, it clicks in his head. It could have sooner, it's just not where his mind was. It clicks in his head, right? And he gives in and he receives the blade of Tensa Zangetsu, where old man Zangetsu and white, they fuse together. So then the good dick and guidance are together. Now the whole point was never for Ichigo to win the fight. But there is a fight. That's the power struggles that can happen sometimes. Now, this is more so prematurely integrated situations. Ichigo didn't come into, you know, this stuff understanding the purpose of all these things. All Ichigo knew was that he had something he wanted to do, which was to keep his family safe. Right? And sometimes that's how that works. Sometimes a woman will be in that situation. She just wants to protect the things that are close to her. So that may be her heart. That may be her autonomy. That may be the approval of people around her. That may be a lot of things. That could be what Ichigo represent. Her mindset of the way she thinks things are supposed to be. And it's difficult for her. Sometimes it's her religion. Sometimes it's just her outlook. And if you're not in a secure enough place to walk away from your outlook, if you're a feminine person, then you're insecure. You know, sometimes people try to look at it as being secure, as knowing exactly what you want. But if you're a feminine person, and that's your nature, and you desire a man who's masculine, you desire a man who's dominant, if you are in that feminine nature, you're insecure. Because you're afraid of being hurt, you're afraid of being vulnerable, you're afraid of losing control. Because you know, there's different things you've seen. It's like in life, you see men get a certain level of control or power in a relationship sometimes, not realizing that oftentimes those are feminine dominant. Sometimes those are guys who only have white. They don't have Zangetsu, right? They don't have the wisdom. They don't have understanding. All they have is white. That primal animalistic instinct. And sometimes women realize that. And it's cool if they just give in a time of great horniness or at a time of great sexual need. That would be kind of like when Ichigo was taken over by White when he was fighting Ukiura, or Ichigo being taken over by White when he was fighting Kenpachi. No, not Kenpachi, Byakuya Kuchiki, right? So just in that time of great horniness, she'll give over to that. But then as soon as she gets a little bit of what she needs, she rips the mask off, right? So that she can get back to her idea of how she views herself. Because the idea of seeing herself as that true whore, that true nasty girl, that something is afraid, is fearful for her because she was taught by society. And the truth is this, yeah, there are ways to where that cannot benefit you. And when you're afraid of that not being something that benefits you, you fight it. But sometimes you fight it in situations when you shouldn't. Sometimes you fight it in situations when you shouldn't. So when you're looking at it from this perspective and you see, okay, cool, well, Ichigo finally said to submit myself, to trade in my social programming, the way I view myself, the way I view the way things are supposed to be. When I trade that over to saying, you know what, not only does this person display that they have this power, right, this penis power, but this person also displays that they have this dominant energy, they have this nature, they have these instincts, they're manly, right? But then when you also look behind it, it's like, okay, they also have wisdom, they also have guidance, they also have understanding. And when those fuse together, when Zangetsu and White, they fuse together, when it finally ran through Ichigo, right? When it finally ran through him and he gave over to it, that's when he received the power of Mugetsu. So I saw this video, right? And I was just thinking about something. I went back just watching some of Bleach, because you know Bleach is coming back. So I'm definitely about to rev up my anime content. Like, this isn't called Blerd Pill Rants for no reason. I'm going to touch on some more Blerd content, some more anime content, shit like that. You know what I mean? Star Wars content, Dragon Ball Z, Naruto. Some other stuff too, like Berserk. I got stuff like that coming out. Some of it's already written, and most of my videos aren't written. And some of it is already planned. It's already in the works. It's already in the queue. So I'm going to get this stuff done.